Markets are up. Mag 7 earnings coming out. We talk about those topics all the time, and we're going to hit them today. But spaving, what in the world is spaving? We'll hit that today as well. This is a financial education presentation. You must do your own due diligence on anything you hear in this presentation. More disclaimer information can be found on AnkerstarWealth.com, and the opinions expressed are mine and Corey's alone. So I love waking up to Monday green numbers. Corey, why are the markets up? What incredible things happened over the weekend that would make the markets shoot up from highs to higher highs? Take it away.
What do we mean markets are up? You know, we saw last week, and some people might think, oh, it's just a few stocks, it's just this, it's that. You know, if you equal weight the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the NASDAQ 100, or the S&P 500, any of those baskets closed at all-time highs last week. And
Yay!
What that means is when we say equal weight, it's not like NVIDIA is making up 8% of the index at that point. It's just making up its little equivalent, you know, its portion. If you made all of the components the same size in the index or the same weighting. So this is what we mean by markets are at all-time highs. And markets also up strongly today, close to 1% again. Some news came out over the weekend that China and the United States are close to a trade deal. You read the article, they say we don't actually have any details on this, but hey, you know, the market doesn't care. They trust that some of the positive sentiment from some U.S. government officials over the weekend is good enough for them. So that's where we're at on the market. And then as we look to this week, tomorrow we get Visa and United Health's earnings. Those are some pretty big ones. United Health not as big as it used to be, of course, after the crash this year. But then we go to the main event of earnings season. Wednesday, Microsoft, Google, and Meta. And then Thursday, Apple and Amazon. It's really our expectation that those companies will report very solid earnings for the quarter. And, you know, that's also being priced into the market.
And if I remember correctly last time, and we don't need to go pull up all the details, it's not like all 7, you know, like each one, like they blow it out of the water. We're going to see some mix. You know, some will do it and some will not. Although I want to say the last quarter that we went through this process, it was like, you know, they're up 3 or 4% or somebody's down 3 or 4%. I don't remember anyone really selling off in a major way. Do you remember that, Corey, as well?
Yeah, the earnings have been very strong, particularly for that group.
All right. Well, I'm going to hit on a topic, and before I share my screen. So how many times, Corey, for you, how many times have you clicked on something to buy it, and then they say, hey, we'll throw this in for another $2, or we'll throw this in, or we'll throw this in, and you're like, that sounds like a good deal. I'm going to add to it. Do you do that, or is it just me?
I don't know that I get sucked into that, but I do get sucked into we don't pay for Amazon Prime. We don't really order too much online. So I will buy the extra thing to get the free shipping, you know.
Yeah. And I'll give this true confession, you know, hey, you know, let's confess, transparency. You know, I've had times where like I see you know, I want to say the last example was a cool shirt, and I got a, you know, advertisement on Facebook, and, you know, it was something patriotic. It looked like something I hadn't seen before. I was like, oh, I like that. And I'm like, I think I'll get that. And I click on it, and it's like, you know, if you buy a second shirt, we'll give you 20% off the whole order. I was like, well, that seems like a good deal. And if you buy a third shirt, we'll give you 30% off the same order. So I'm like doing the calculations in my head, you know, that third shirt saves me, you know, and I'm telling you what this is called. I didn't know the term until a few days ago. It's called spaving. You are saving money by spending more. So that's the article I'm going to share today, spaving. And at least me, it really rang true because guess what? I do this. So it starts off with talking about it could cost you $50,000 out of your retirement. Well, you know, if you invest well, maybe it won't. or but it's like, of course, that's the doom and gloom side of it. But let's talk about what it really is. So Corey mentioned one is you check out online and your cart says, $42 and you got to pay $8.99 shipping, and you go, oh,
That's me.
that's a
That's me.
ripoff. That's a ripoff. I don't want to pay that shipping. So, but if I spend $50 more, I get free shipping. Oh, so I'm going to save $9 by spending 50. Very common. I can understand how marketers put this forward. I mean, in that case, let's just keep spending to save more. I mean, that's what they want. So here's the actual psychology of it. It's funny. It says they're laughing all the way to the bank because they figured something out. We hate losing more than winning. So we hate losing, like losing the $9 for shipping, rather than we'd rather win and get more shirts or more clothes or whatever it is. So the idea of missing out on a deal triggers an emotional panic, and our brains convince us we're saving money when we're actually overspending. This is key, because most people, Corey's like the one person in the United States that doesn't have Amazon Prime. Most people have these things. You see buy one, get one free all the time. Let's see, let me, and then there was three kind of key questions to ask yourself. Here they are.
They make it, I know they try to make it urgent. This expires in 1 hour.
Yes. I know airlines do that too. So, before, I'll log in, book a flight, and if I just use like Orbitz or Travelocity, and I see it'll be like, 2 seats remaining at this price, and it part of me doesn't believe it anymore. So I'm like, yeah, but it, initially it's like, oh wait, I got to get this thing booked. There's only 2 seats left. They create that urgency, and then this goes into buy now, pay later, which we have talked before with Klarna, is the worst thing for consumers since payday loans. And so here's some of the questions to ask yourself if you find yourself in this spaving mindset. Would I buy this if it weren't on sale? That's a great question. I've had so many times, and maybe it's a parent, maybe it's a kid. They're like, this is such a great deal. I just got it for $5. And I'm like thinking, yeah, but you're not going to use it, and it's just going to sit in the house or sit in your bedroom or whatever. So just because it's a good deal, but if you're not going to use it, you're still out $5. And now you got something clogging space. So the next question then is, do I actually need this right now? Boy, this one, my answer for most things that I buy is probably not. Whether it's a shirt or a book, do I actually need this right now? Now, even grocery shopping, not that I do a lot of that. If I look at the grocery, do I need it right now? I probably could make do without it for another week. And then here's the key question on investing. Is this money better spent or invested somewhere else? Now, of course, in our role as far as investing, we love like, oh yeah, we should buy, more stocks are hitting all-time highs, or Bitcoin or whatever, but could the money be better spent? And maybe it's making, rather than the investing side, maybe it's, would you be better off, instead of buying that, would you better off spending an experience with your family, or buying something else that's more useful, things like that. So spaving, I want people to think about, and look at this picture right here, Corey. This is the kind of thing, when I walk through the supermarket, that picture right there gets me. I mean, if I see meat, steak, maybe not that I can't see quite what that one is. Oh, it's pork ribs or something like that. But if I see steaks and they have that reduced sticker on there, and I'm like, whoa, I can get these steaks for $2.50 off. And it used to be off of $20, now it's off of like $40, but it gets my attention. So that's probably why I don't do much shopping. My wife probably sends me home. So spaving, can you think of any examples, Corey, where you've pulled in for this?
I just know that, if you're spending, you're not saving. So it's
Corey,
pretty simple.
Spoken from the one guy in the world without Amazon Prime. So Corey is the extreme pendulum side to the way you should do it. And I'm
If
born.
you're, it's
I'm in the
look, it's
middle.
just that simple. If you are spending, you are not saving.
Corey destroys the psychology of spaving. But it's true. If you are spending, you are not saving.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget. Uh, I remember this at a corporate meeting once, and I won't give any of the true details, but we were implementing something, and we said, if we buy this, and we were sharing this with an executive, a CEO, if we buy this or put this program in that's going to cost, I'm just making up the numbers, it's going to make $1 million, or it's going to cost $1 million, it's going to save the company like 5 million in the long run. And the CEO was like, well, why don't we just do 20 of those then? Like, why don't we just do 20 different implementations to save 5 million each? And it really made me think, like, if it's such a great deal, why aren't we doing all these all over the place? So anyways, it just made me laugh. All right. I know most people be holding their breath, looking forward to Wednesday and Thursday. And I know Corey talked about the earnings. Do all those come out after the bell? Are those all after the bell
The
on
big
those?
tech is after the
The big
bell.
tech after the bell. So,
Mhm.
if you want to have the interesting life that Corey and I pay attention to, log into the internet at 4:30 in the afternoon and see how these reports come out. But if not, we'll have the updates for you the next day.
And it's
Thanks.
it's more just at the end of the week. If your account's higher, you probably know why. It's because of the big tech. And if the account's a little lower, then you could probably blame the big tech earnings.
Yeah, you can. And if Amazon's down, we'll blame Corey for not subscribing. And if Corey subscribes, they'll have no more growth potential. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.